Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Aston Martin, Lotus, just a few of the famous British motor car marques that will be featured at the 2025 Cincinnati Concours d'Elegance happening on Sunday, June 8th at Ault Park. And someone who's more than familiar with all of those British cars is Rich France, Vice President of the Cincinnati Concours Foundation and also chair of the judging program with the Concours. So Rich, when did your love of British cars begin? How did you get into that?
Well, when I was just a youngster, and this is the Sterling Moss active racing days, I just became enamored with race cars and British cars in general. First car I had was an MGB Roadster in college, and there was nothing like getting out on the first decent spring day weather and going off in the back roads and just having a great time driving. The handling on those cars today doesn't seem like much, but back then they were just remarkably agile and quick.
When it comes to the Concours, Rich, how long have you been involved and how did you get involved with the Concours?
Well, about 25 years ago, I was working at GE and the volunteer group was asking for volunteers to work at the Concours d'Elegance, which was at that time under the Arthritis Foundation. And my mother had rheumatoid arthritis, and so I said, this fits a bunch of characteristics that I'm looking for spending my volunteer time. And so I started out helping park trailers. A few years later, started judging, and then a few years later, after I retired from GE, I went into work with the office and the leadership as a volunteer. I've been there ever since.
I know you have a personal affinity for Jaguar. You've been a member of the Jaguar Club for a number of years, right?
Yes, since 2003. It's just a real passionate club. The people that are in the club have a real interest in that marque, which is somewhat unique around here. There's not many around, especially the older ones. The older cars are just becoming rarer and rarer.
What do you think it is, Rich, about British cars, or maybe even Jaguar in particular, that appeals to so many people?
Well, I think they just have so much unique character, and that runs the whole spectrum from beautiful styling, unique styling, jaw-dropping curves. They're just unique in that way in almost all of the marques, the brands. But there's also some quirkiness that adds to the character, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Particularly the older models are just very sensitive to the touch.
Didn't Enzo Ferrari famously say he thought the XKE was the sexiest car ever built?
Yeah, he said the most beautiful car ever built. And that was always a passion when I was young, and I finally ended up getting one, which is sitting here 41 years ago.
Wow, so you've had that car for 41 years?
Yes.
Wow, and what is it about the car that appealed to you?
Well, the styling, of course, the engineering at the time was just way ahead of everything else.
Tell me a little bit about this one that we're standing next to right here, this beautiful red car.
Well, this is a 1954 XK120 SE. SE meaning special equipment, so it had a little more horsepower, wire wheels. The interesting thing about this car is that the design in 1948 was a last-minute design project in order to present Jaguar's new six-cylinder engine for a motor show in London. And the engine wasn't the hit, it was the car design. Everybody went over the moon for the car, not necessarily the engine, but the 120 represented the top speed that it was designed for, which was the fastest production car of its time. There's a lot of these left around the country and elsewhere, but not very many in Cincinnati anymore, only a handful. I've had it about 13 years, I think, and it's just a hoot to drive. It's noisy and it's very mechanical, reasonably loud, so there's no radio, there's no point in having a radio.
The sound of the car itself is sort of its own soundtrack.
Yes, absolutely.
I know the featured marque at the Cincinnati Concours d'Elegance this year is Icons of British Motoring. What other classes are going to be featured at the show this year?
Well, we have 3 special display classes, which are just for this year. One celebrates the 100th anniversary of Chrysler. The second one is a special display of Indian motorcycles. from multiple years. And then we have another class that is called Automotive Oddities, the strange and wonderful. And so those are the cars that you really go, wow, I wonder why I don't see them anymore, but there's probably a reason. In addition, then we'll have our regular standard classes, which are 13 classes, everything from antique all the way up to modern supercars.
And this is a very, very rare car.
And so our proceeds still go to the Arthritis Foundation, now focused on juvenile arthritis, which is a under-recognized aspect of the arthritis community. We are, as the Concours Foundation, the sponsor of the Fall Family Camp.
With the kids who live with arthritis, I understand you also have some special judges helping out at the show.
We have what we believe is the largest Haggerty youth judging program in the country. We take kids up to age 15 and they go around and they look at maybe half a dozen cars and they talk to the owners, they learn about the cars, and they judge the cars and select their favorites to win awards.
Well, Rich, I want to thank you again for your time. I know it's a beautiful day. You're probably itching to take one of these cars out, so
I am.
I'll let you go, hop behind the wheel, enjoy the day. We'll see you June 8th at Ault Park.
All right. Thank you, Pete.